Hi there and welcome to the Warriors Amateur Anime Review. I'm Scottish Warrior 92 and this is where I review animes basically. Now I'd say everyone's definition of anime is slightly different. But as I say, this is my show, I do what I damn well bloody please. This series is beginning with reviewing all the animes that I own to celebrate 700 subscribers on this channel. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and if you've just stumbled across this video, hopefully I can entice you to join the clan and maybe subscribe, but you don't have to. So, the first episode. What do I review for the first episode of the Warriors Amateur Anime Reviews? Do I pick a well-known anime? Do I pick an anime I've never seen before? Do I pick an anime that the people voted for? Well, I thought I'd choose one I've never seen before. I'm going to be reviewing Appleseed and Appleseed Ex-Machina. Oh yeah. Now, I had never seen these animes prior to them. I had no idea they existed until watching them. So, firstly, I'll go through the story of each one and comment on them on both. I'll talk about each film individually and then talk about them as a whole. So we're going to be starting with the first one in the series, Appleseed. Just Appleseed. Just Appleseed. I was about to say Appleseed Ex-Machina, I almost fucked up there. This one comes first again. This one came first. That's it. And now I'm going to talk about how do I judge this. Well, basically I'm going to judge it as most anime reviewers out there. I'm going to judge it on the story, animation, voice acting, and music. That is very important when you're judging almost any field of entertainment, in my opinion. Movies, games, anime, cartoons, whatever. So, what is the story of Appleseed? Well, Appleseed is from the creator of Ghost in the Shell, so you do know that it's going to have robots. You can't guess it. As soon as you hear the word Ghost in the Shell, you like robots, or cyborgs, or some kind of apocalyptic world involving cybernetics. And in the world of Appleseed, we are introduced to the world via a character known as Doonan, who is the lady in the front here. Right here. And we are introduced to her basically in a war zone, where cyborgs and humans are fighting each other. She is overall a badass bitch, and she kicks ass, which is no surprise, especially if you've seen Ghost in the Shell, and this is from the creator of Ghost in the Shell, apparently. And subsequently, she is actually captured, but not by bad guys, actually by supposedly the good guys. She is captured and later finds out that the war that she thought she was fighting in was over, and subsequently we're introduced to this world. Basically, she's brought to the city of Olympus, which is basically an almost utopian society, which has three primal races in it. It has normal humans, us ones here, the Biroids, which are basically human clones who have had the emotions of anger and rage and a lot of aggressive emotions taken away from them, and almost every emotion imaginable, actually any emotion that could cause war, so all of them, away from them, and also the ability to reproduce, and cyborgs. Now, in the first Appleseed, we're mostly introduced to the Biroids and the humans. We only get introduced to the cyborgs via the character on here, who is Briarios. I can never fucking pronounce his name, so I do apologise. I think it's Briarios. God damn, anime and their weird names. But Briarios, what can I call him? I'm gonna call him Bree. I'm gonna call him Bri-R-A. Okay, Bree, I'm calling him Bray. I'm fucking sitting here for an hour trying to pronounce his fucking name. But subsequently we introduced the character of Briarios. That's it, I think. And he has a history with Doonan. In fact, they are... Well, basically they were in a relationship, and he disappeared 2 years prior to Doonan coming to Olympus. And subsequently he had suffered a massive accident, and it unfortunately caused him to be basically enough turned into a complete cyborg. Very Gundam Wing in my opinion. And you can kind of guess that there are some weird things between the two of them, if you get my drift. But basically, Doonan has been brought in to help try and kind of figure out what the fuck is going on. She subsequently gets led up into the world of what is going on. The Biroids are not exactly trusted in this universe, actually. The Biroids, which are the clones, as I mentioned, are basically, how do I say this? they are due to the fact that they have virtually no emotion, they are put up into the stats of most powerful positions. In fact, the leader of Olympus, the city, is known as Athena, who's the Prime Minister, and she's a Biroid. Most Biroids are in seats of power, whether it be diplomats or very high positions. Not in the military, unfortunately. The military is run by humans. And basically, there's a lot of tension between humans and Biroids. And Doonan has to try and figure out what's going on and try and locate something known as the Appleseed, which is something that could possibly fix the Biroids in some way, shape, or form. The Biroids aren't evil; they are actually portrayed somewhat in the good way in this one. And I'm trying to avoid spoilers here. I don't like to, as I said, I try and remain spoiler-free as possible. But that's basically the plot. Doonan has to find this thing known as the Appleseed to help the Biroids because of the humans who, a terrorist organisation who we later find out is kind of affiliated with the humans in the government, destroyed a facility that is used to increase the lifespan of all Biroids. Due to the fact that Biroids cannot reproduce, they go through a sort of process of regressing age or extending their life, in which they're basically given a couple more years to live, and then they need to go through that process all over again. And if a Biroid doesn't go through that process, they rapidly age and die. We are introduced this via one of the characters whose name escapes me. I do apologize. I think it's Miniti. I call her Minnie because she's plucky and adorable. And she is a Biroid who we get to sympathise with. Now, that's about everything I can talk about the story without going into major spoilers. I can mention that Briareus, I do apologise, I cannot pronounce his name to save myself, is part of an organisation known as eSWAT, which is basically the International Police Force, which, if you know what SWAT stands for, Special Weapons and Tactics, eSWAT is basically, I have no idea what the E fucking stands for. Eskimo. No, Eskimo. Whatever the fuck you want. But that's basically what I can talk about the story without going into major spoilers, but I can tell you the story is very decent. The story brings up a lot of interesting aspects on creation versus maker. Like, the Biroids were made by humans because humans feared human nature. The world of Appleseed, we actually don't find this out in the first Appleseed film, but we do find it out in the second one. The first Appleseed film doesn't really explain what happened before Olympus was founded, basically, but we do find out later in the second one that there was a massive war in which over half the Earth's population was exterminated. It was a non-nuclear war, so the Earth is still habitable, but it was ravished and near enough destroyed by non-nuclear ordnance. I cannot pronounce that fucking word. But yeah, we don't find that until the second film. That first film is more about the character of Doonan and Briareus. Whatever the fuck his name is. It's gonna piss me off if I don't fucking pronounce it right. But that's basically what the first one is about, and as it says, the story is very good. It's not fantastic, it's not as good as other anime as Ghost in the Shell, because I know I'm going to get asked, is it as good as Ghost in the Shell? No, it's not as good as Ghost in the Shell. The story of Ghost in the Shell is an iconic story. The story of Appleseed is still good. It's not as good as Ghost in the Shell, and the thing that I liked most about the story was the characters. The character of Doonan especially. She isn't really portrayed as a female character. She's portrayed as a character more than anything. The only time she's really portrayed as a female is when she's having her romantic interactions with Briareus. After they have not seen each other in 2 years, and no, there's no sex scene before one goes fucking apeshit. I'm talking about subtle things, very subtle things. We get to see her little feminine side here or there, but overall she's portrayed as a fucking badass bitch, which from the creator of Ghost in the Shell doesn't surprise me. We're also talked through the eyes of Briareus, who is very conflicted at the moment because he is a cyborg. He's more machine than man, and he doesn't want to pull Doonan down, basically. He wants her to continue her life, but he still has very strong feelings for her. And we're never actually shown what Briareus looked like before he became a cyborg. There's subtle flashbacks what we're talked about where he basically is shown mostly back from behind, and not that way, don't get the dirty minds going. But we never see his face, which I love. We never get to see him other than mostly in his machine form, cyborg form, which is very nice. I like that. I very much like that touch in there. So that's how I'm going to talk about the story. The themes of that are basically, we humans created something kind of very Matrixy. Like, we created something called Biroids to help save the world. And subsequently, the Biroids have more position of power. It really comes into a theme of, is the master worse than the creation, or the creation worse than the master? Very dystopian, very... I don't even know what the fuck that word means, so I don't know why I used it. Very genocidal as well. Some humans want to completely exterminate the Biroids, and some Biroids want to completely exterminate the human. There's really no good or bad side. It really shows that no matter what it is, human nature will prevail in all senses of the way. Whether you're a clone or a human, full born and bred human or a clone, human nature is in everything that we create. The clone still had the human nature in it, the Biroids still had that human nature of survival in them, so they figure a way how to kill all humans. The same with the humans, they still have that survival instinct. They think the Biroids are going to try and destroy them, so the humans try to destroy the Biroids. It doesn't really portray an evil side or a good side, because there are good and bad people on both sides of the Biroids and of the humans. We get to see the despicable parts of both sides and also the kind nature parts of a lot of them. So there isn't really a main bad guy in this, because there's a couple of nice wee twists and turns that I will not spoil. So that's about it. I like the theme. The animation, okay, I'm going to be honest, the animation style of this is never a style that I've ever liked. It's basically, I've dubbed it the action figure style, which is basically full 3D model art. It's no drawings, it's no like animated drawings or anything, it's actually 3D modeling, which is something that I really don't like. I can never get into it, but the animation is done well enough. The lip syncing for the dub is a little bit off in some instances. I prefer dub over sub. Before anyone asked, I didn't watch the sub, I prefer dub. The lips are a wee bit iffy sometimes, and I don't know what to talk about. They're a wee bit off sometimes, like with Robot Briarius. He doesn't have lips, so it's not of him, but other characters you didn't notice it. But overall, the animation's alright. The only problem I had was the hair. Especially in Doonin, it doesn't move as much as that, but that's just nitpicking. But the animation is overall good. If you like that style of 3D animation, I personally don't, so it did take a wee bit away from me. Voice acting. How's the voice acting? I didn't recognise any voices, like from big name voice actors. But I will say the voice actors are capable. There are a couple of cheesy ones, but most of them are the sub-characters. The characters we only see once or twice. The main characters do a good job, and I gotta give praise to them all there. And the, what is it? Music. Okay, this is for both of them basically, but the first Appleseed movie music is horrible. I did not like any of the music in this at all. I don't know what type of genre it is. It's that type of genre that I don't like. It's very techno and robotic-y. It just didn't suit the anime in my opinion. It didn't suit the atmosphere. Like it was like one of the producers had his son in high school who wanted to be a musician, and he stuffed his music in there. It kind of sounded like that. It didn't really suit the overall mood, and just kind of took it a wee bit. The song music's fine, but big instrumental ones and also like the vocal ones and all that, they didn't do a good job in my opinion. Not really. But overall, what can I say about the first Appleseed film? Really good. I enjoyed it. I think it is not as good as Ghost in the Shell. It's still enjoyable, and I would recommend checking out the first one. Appleseed Ex-Machina now. Let's get to that. Now, I've talked about the characters, so the characters haven't changed that much. They're virtually the same. There are one or two new characters, but the only other main new character in this one that you have to understand about is Terius. I'm sorry, I cannot remember how to pronounce his name. I call him Terra. He's a guy, so yeah. And that's the only really new character you really need to pay attention to, because he is actually a Biroid. He is a Biroid who's put into eSWAT as a test, basically, to try and create a combat specialist Biroid. And that I won't talk about that just yet. I'll get to him in a moment, but I'll tell you about the story of Ex-Machina. Basically, the Ex-Machina explains the world a lot better than Appleseed does. It explains it a whole lot better, gives you full backstory and all that, and also gives you some nice, interesting things about certain characters. Now, the story of Ex-Machina is basically this. Very similar to Ghost in the Shell in a way. Basically, the cyborg part of this is that while Appleseed mostly concentrated on the Biroids, Ex-Machina concentrates a lot on the cyborgs. Especially since the fact that some kind of new virus program has basically come out and kind of uses a puppet master system, like the other cyborg film that we're not going to talk about. and takes control of cyborgs, but not only cyborgs, but humans as well, via a new system, like little earpieces that they put on there that kind of makes it like a visor, like Jordan LaForge, but holographic. And it's a new kind of nanites that basically can take control of humans or cyborgs to make them do whatever the person in control wants, basically. And this is basically causing havoc, killing people, attacking peace summits, and there is actually a nice wee twist and turn here with what the overall plot is that I don't really want to spoil. Briareus himself actually also gets infected by it, which I won't spoil how he got infected, but it is very interesting how he did and how he figures it out. I do like that. Now we'll get to the new character, Terus. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, I'm horrible with that. But he's a very interesting character in the sense that he is a biroid who is made from the DNA of Briareus. So he is the spitting image of Briareus. So we finally get to see what he looks like. And let's just say Dunan is very conflicted with this. She's angry, but she's also kind of happy to see Briareus' face. She still is in love, basically, with this guy, with the original Briareus. But this biroid has got her very conflicted because this is what he looked like. This is exactly what he looked like, and he's also as equally as skilled as Briareus. And I like that. I really, really do. I like the conflict. The subplot for me personally between the conflict between those three characters, Briareus, Dunan, and Terus, is absolutely brilliantly well done, and I do love the conflict between the two, all three of them basically, how they're all conflicted and all that. I really do like that. And it comes to a nice wee bit of a conclusion towards the end. The overall story is really good as well, and I do that. The animation has stepped up a little bit in my opinion. It's a little bit better than it was in Appleseed, but it's still that 3D stuff that I really don't like. All the characters still look very action figure-y, and it just turns me off. I'm sorry, I don't like that bit. The music is still bad. Like, it's bearable this time, but it's still pretty bad, so I can't say this. A couple of, I'm not too sure, but I do believe the voice actor for Briareus has changed in Ex-Machina. The guy sounds extremely familiar. In fact, I think he may have voiced someone from Naruto. I'm not 100% certain, but he sounds extremely familiar. But I do believe it's a different voice actor for him, and maybe a couple of voice actors and actors have changed as well. I really couldn't tell. All of them done still a really good job, and I would definitely say they didn't suck. They done a good job. So really overall, what can I say about the two Appleseed films? Both Appleseed films are entertaining to watch, and I would definitely say this. If you liked Ghost in the Shell, you might not like this, but I definitely Ghost in the Shell is one of my favourite animes. I've watched it a few times now, and it was a friend who recommended it to me. When I stumbled across Appleseed from the creator of the Ghost in the Shell, I was interested, and that kind of piqued my interest. So I would definitely say if you've seen Ghost in the Shell, I would highly recommend that you check out Appleseed. It's a decent anime. It's not fantastic. Is it an anime that I'm going to end up going back and rewatching? Probably not. I probably won't rewatch it anytime soon, but I still think it's a worthy, good anime. It's still an overall. I would definitely say that if you're a hardcore Ghost in the Shell fan, you might not like some of the things in this, because they do take a couple of things from there. They also take a couple other wee things here and there, like some of the design for some of the cyborg exosuits they have them in this series are very Gundam-esque, I'll just say, but they're not rip-offs. They are unique in their own way, but some of them do remind me of a Gundam Wing kind of suit. But overall, I can definitely say that Appleseed, the movies, both Appleseed and Ex-Machina, are definitely ones that I would highly recommend to anyone who likes anime, basically. They're decent. As I say, it's the 3D animation that really puts me off of these films, but I really did like them, so I would recommend them. And definitely, if you can, give them at least a check out. At least the first one. I think you'll probably like them both. If I had to recommend one in particular, I'm going to be honest, I preferred Ex-Machina over Appleseed, because of just how much it flushes out the world, and also between the characterization of all three of the characters and the conflict. But I think that's mainly because I liked Appleseed, and I really like Ex-Machina. Ex-Machina is the better one, but I would still recommend you see Appleseed 1 before that. But definitely recommend checking these out, and they are good. So that's the first anime done. Now let's have a wee look at what we're going to be reviewing next time. I've put every anime got a selection in this bag. I'm not even going to look into it. I'm just going to reach in and pull out the next anime we're going to be reviewing. And we are going with... I'm trying to avoid not looking. Come on, give me a good one. Give me a good one. And we're going to be reviewing... Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, I had to pick this one, didn't I? I had to pick Graveyard of the Fireflies. Get your tissues ready, clan. Next review is Graveyard of the Fireflies. Thank you for watching. I'm Scottish Warrior 92. I'll see you next time on the Warriors Amateur Anime Review. Thank you for watching.